My name is Sam Jenks, and welcome to another episode of The Way We Source, a podcast hosted by Kodiak Hub, where we share our talks with procurement practitioners, leaders, experts, consultants, content gurus, and people that we find downright inspiring, diving into the role that sourcing and procurement plays in the way we live. If you like today's episode, make sure, as always, to rate the program and give us a follow. Today, we have the pleasure of hosting a beloved customer of Kodiak Hub, someone who has a deep passion for procurement excellence and digitalization, bringing over 20 years of experience working within trade, supply chain, and purchasing. Currently, the global head of procurement at Elektrobit, a continental business, Denin Gigovic. Denin, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sam. Thanks for having me. Really excited to be here today.
We're excited to have you as well. We always love hosting our customers. I would love to start with a softball question, something that we ask pretty much all of our guests. What does sourcing and procurement mean to you, Denin?
It's a really good question. So, which I never ever was put in such a context. Nobody asked me what does it mean. It's always about do your job and be happy.
Sure.
But yeah, it's kind of, are you asking over the past few years, or if it was a lifetime wish from my side? So just kidding. As you already said, I'm working over 20 years now in procurement. I never did something else in my business life, so it was all about procurement, nothing else, nothing more. But coming back to the initial question, I fell in love with procurement since the very first day, to be honest. There are so many options and possibilities within procurement, and also connects some of my lifestyle. I love to spend money, as everybody does.
Perfect.
And in the end, it's also about I'm a talkative guy. I love to talk to people. I love to network. I love to discuss things. And I think it was a perfect fit for me, negotiating with suppliers, with persons, and also efficiently buying, sourcing stuff, for the company, creating some economical impact, bringing your things on the table. It's absolutely wonderful for me personally, and also, of course, the things which are possible in procurement. It's when you talk about the term procurement as it is, right? You would always bring it into a context spending money, but
Right.
it's not only spending money, right? It's about economical aspects, sourcing something from best available sources for the best available price. I think this is the best perfect term which you can find in every book. But I think the facets of procurement are extraordinarily great. So you can do everything. You can be an operational buyer. You can be a strategic buyer. You can be a commodity buyer. You can be a cost controller. You can go so many routes or process. You can do something about processes in procurement, or you could do supplier management. As you can see, there are many, many things, and this is what fascinates me, to be honest.
Yeah, that's awesome, and an awesome advertisement for the role. It's a role that we admire, and we work together with professionals every single day, just like yourself, Denin. And I'm happy that you feel that way about the industry, because we believe as well that it's not just about cost; it is about driving value, which we'll dig into a little bit during this episode. Looking at your time at Elektrobit, you started as a strategic buyer back in 2018, and now you're serving as the global head of procurement. It's a fast rise and an inspiring journey. I'm not, surprised that you've taken this journey based upon the fact that you're so passionate about the role, and I'm sure that you're passionate in your job as well. For many of our listeners, they're also practitioners. What are some of the keys that you would suggest or kind of highlight as your success criteria for career development, your own career development, or others that are looking to make that same kind of rise within the procurement function?
Yeah, so looking back, it was a wild ride, to be honest. It was, of course, a freaky fast experience. Just when I remember back how everything turned out. Yeah, you're right. I started as an operational buyer, I think, as the majority of sources around the world. So just doing first steps, then trying to find your way, what makes sense for you, maybe strategic buying or maybe something else, what interests you the most, maybe you have some interest for commodities. And so I made my way over the past 20 years. But coming back to the promotion, and I was 34 years when I was promoted to the global head of procurement. I know I was really young, and I'm still young. I feel young,
You
but
look young.
yeah, thank you.
Good.
And yeah, it was kind of a wild ride, as already said. Yeah, I started first as an so-called service manager. You could just put it in the context of a team manager. I
Hmm.
started first in 2021. I was promoted to this kind of team manager, because I always had the interest to do something more. Just only buying things, this is one aspect, but
Yeah.
I love to deal with people, to work with people, to network, to collaborate. And for me, it was always clear once I started my journey as a buyer, I want to become one day head of procurement. It was my
Mm.
lifetime goal, and I set the bar not so high. I said 40 years. I think this should be the time when I should look to develop into that area. About 6 years before, it was really freaky fast, as already said. But things came together, to be honest.
Mm.
And I first started with 2 employees. Then after 8 or 9 months, I ended with 9 employees. It was
Mm.
quite interesting for me. It was a wild ride, yeah. But it was. I never regret anything. It was so cool. It was so great, and it opened such a great possibility for me. I'm just an innovative guy, so I love to do talk about innovations, talk about new technologies, new things, bringing in new things into my daily work. And then the situation occurred 2022. Yeah, I applied for the job, was
Hmm.
selected, perfect, and the rest is past. It's now nearly two years since I'm doing it. And coming also back to the question about keys, how I did this, I think it's hard to explain because there are multiple aspects about it, and I strongly believe it's threefold.
Yeah.
It's kind of your personal thing, how you are as an individual. What are you doing? Then being in the right place, in the right company, which supports you and offers you all the tools which are necessary to support you in your development. And
Mm.
last but not least, it's about your supervisor, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I'm blessed with all of that. So, as said, I always raising my bar higher and higher. So I don't want to stagnate. Stagnation is for me the worst thing. Stagnation is the worst thing for innovation. So when I achieve my bars, I set it twice higher as before. Try new things and also be open-minded, supportive, etc. When we come to the right place, Elektrobit is a really great company, which offers you everything what you need. So it's supporting their employees in every positive way how they can. They are fostering freedom to act, freedom to do, freedom to speech. And of course also offering you kind of training possibilities, etc. And the last aspect about that, as already explained, is about the supervisor. You can be as good as you like, but without one who supports, who mentors,
Mm.
who see something in you, it's quite important. And luckily, I have such a supervisor who supports in every positive way. He also fosters this kind of behaviors like freedom to act, and try new things, and learn out of what you have done. And this is what I can tell everybody: never say no to anything. Try, be innovative, raise your bars higher every time you reach it. Chase your dreams, have your dreams. This is absolutely positive, and I love to hear stories from people who have dreams and are able to achieve them, because it feels great. I also achieved my long
Yeah.
life dream, and it came true, and it's absolutely great. And also one positive aspect is don't let negative things impact you. Right?
Mm.
Stay positive, and the positive energy will always bring you forward.
Yeah. Well, you're either winning or learning. There is no such thing as losing when you have a growth mindset. And it sounds like you have that. And it sounds also like the business that you're in has a growth mindset, which of course harnesses growth as a young, professional and practitioner to be able to have a career development. Let's take a quick step back for those that are our listeners and aren't familiar. Can you quickly explain who Elektrobit is and what you're doing in the procurement role at Elektrobit?
For sure. So Elektrobit, as a company, is a global supplier of embedded and connected software products and services for the automotive industry. We are serving the automotive industry or automotive software. Automotive industry, as already said, for 35 years, so it's quite impressive. And so we have a long track record in automotive software industry. And what is more impressive for me personally speaking is the fact about it. Always when I read about that or tell it somebody in any context, it's about where you can find electrons. And the numbers are impressive. Our software powers over 1 billion devices in more than 600 million vehicles.
Wow.
This is quite impressive, and it offers flexible, innovative solutions for car infrastructure software, connectivity, security, automated driving, and related tools, and of course, last but not least, user experience, which is also really important in days where everybody is into software. You know, software has to look good,
Right.
software has to be easy operable, and I think the cars, people are more and more looking into possibilities to have their software empowerment in their cars as to stay connected, to have maybe automated driving in some kind of aspects, etc., etc. So this is what Elektrobit is doing in a nutshell.
Very nice, very nice. As a software business, but also in the automotive industry, you're in an incredibly competitive vertical, right? How does someone in your position, in the role of procurement, how do you differ things in a competitive industry like automotive versus a less competitive industry, something like finance or utilities? Do you see any likenesses or differences? But also, like, how does that make a procurement team act and react uh, relative to the competitiveness of the industry?
To be honest, I'm unable to speak for procurement in finance and utility sectors. As you might know, they are both
Sure,
heavily
sure.
regulated areas of industry. But common to all three sectors in the process of transformation, which has been launched by digitalization, of course, climatic and environmental changes, the automotive industry is, for example, undergoing possibly its most dramatic transformation since the invention of the internal combustion engine, if you ask me. And I also forced with the three-pronged challenge of innovation, speed, and in this context, time to market, and of course, cost. Procurement in the automotive sector has always been good at addressing speed and cost in the end.
Right.
Being innovative is a more recent learning curve in the software business. However, being innovative is second nature from my point of view.
So the having that three-pronged approach, which I think is something that obviously in a competitive nature or in a competitive industry, that has to be a part of your DNA, right? How do you in your industry though balance cost with innovation, ensuring that you're working with the best suppliers, but they're not, breaking the bank? Do you have any concrete tips of how Elektrobit works with these types of approaches?
Straight answer. Innovation is a modus operandi that is increasingly reliant on cooperation and collaboration in the end. Cooperation is a mix of working with partners to share the development burdens, which are not always just costs, and embracing the spirit of the open source community in the end. The latter, in particular, promises significant, perhaps, improvement in time, scale, and cost efficiency. So this is what I can say about cost
So if we
control.
double click on the collaboration piece, because I think that it's an incredibly important aspect, whether you're in a competitive industry or not, but when you're looking to innovate, when you're looking to push forward, like you said, various supplier enabled innovations or supplier led innovations, right? To bring better products and services to the market. What supplier management tactics do you and your team utilize? You said, of course, sharing development costs, but more concretely, to extract the most value out of your supplier partnerships. Do you have any particular tactics that you think have worked well for your team at Elektrobit?
Yeah, as already said, so Elektrobit as itself is part of a highly innovative, collaborative ecosystem, as already said. And while a lot of our innovative power is in-house, ultimately its business success lies in its ability to cooperate and collaborate with others. And this is also what we also try in procurement to do when we have our sourcing activities. Just search the market for innovative aspects which can influence and help us to develop even more new great topics and products and services which can help the automotive industry in the end.
The interesting thing there is applying your own corporate values and mirroring that on the market, right? The suppliers that you'd like to be able to work with mirror the same values and stretch for innovation that Elektrobit has themselves. So that's also it sounds like a very important aspect of that. Um, you, of course, are a global supply chain, or I'm sorry, global procurement head, obviously. And as a global head, you're leading global teams. How does one in your position best mesh the cultures in a global context, both within your organization, your team that you're managing, but also with global suppliers to be able to ensure that you're taking into consideration global cultures when leading?
Yeah, thanks for asking. I think there are two aspects about that. One, as you already said, the cultural aspect is highly important. Different regions have different things which you have to keep in mind when it comes to
Mm,
talking and to behaving, right? So what is maybe not so important for us in the European region, it is a no-go in some other regions, right? So you have to always adapt yourself. So you have to be possible to somehow change your mindset. And when you talk to people outside of the European Union, this is I think one of the most important aspects about dealing and working with people and collaborating, of course.
mm,
When it comes to my team, I think there is no secret sauce about that. It's about talking to each other, and being a human being means being respectful with each other and
mm,
and doing it in an appreciation that everybody feels welcomed in a conversation, and this is, I think, the most important thing which unites all people around the world, no
mm,
matter where
mm,
you are coming from, right? So everybody wants to be treated respectful and on the same level, so that we can watch into our eyes and talk to each other in a
mm,
respectful way. And this is what I try to do with my team. So my team is spread around the world. So I have my majority of my team is in Germany. It's easy for me because I'm also in Germany. But I also have team members in Romania and in India, and of course, those are two different countries or three different countries in this context,
mm,
but us unites that we are all human beings, and we try to be supportive to each other, to talk open-minded, that nobody feels offended, and
mm.
being fair to each other. I think this is the most important aspect, and for me personally also is something important to mention here. You already said that yeah, I'm started to work at Elektrobit. Maybe you have not mentioned that, but I started to work at Elektrobit in 2014,
Okay.
um, and I was working with those colleagues on an employee level, So we are still friends. So we are still acting to each other like friends, and but we still have to keep a somehow professional level. It
Mm.
was not so easy for me in the beginning, to be honest. You have to find your way how to
Sure.
deal with such a
Sure.
situation. But I think we found a really really great way. I love to work with my employees. They are all also my colleagues in the end because we worked a few years together, dealing with the same problems. And I still try
Mm,
to support them. Just I don't take myself out of the operational business. I also love to do the operational business and support them on that
mm.
the topic. So I think there you can see the cultural approach from my side. So that behaving and acting on the same level, I think this is key.
That's a very important aspect that I would love to dive a little bit deeper into, because we've had other global heads or VPs on the show before that also have indicated the importance of remaining operational in the business, making sure that you're not getting away from the pulse of the work. And when you do, then you become, in some essence, a bit too strategic, a bit too far away from the day to day to really understand what's going on, right? Tactics are become dusty. Your understanding of technology that's being used is not up to par with the day's standards. How do you make sure that you stay operational in the business on a day to day? Do you have any tips for other leaders out there?
Um, I think the most important aspect for me, and I already said, it's the innovational aspect. Be open minded for new technologies.
Mm,
Stay informed.
mm,
try to find maybe new ways of sourcing, because in the end, I always say we cannot reinvent the wheel. I
No.
think this is really common phrasing, right? Nobody can reinvent the wheel, but the way how we use the wheel, there is the way. This is what I try to change.
Mm.
Trying to use the wheel in a more fresher, in more innovative, in new way, is think something which will bring us into the future, and this is what I try to do. So we are trying to also check what kind of technologies and possibilities are on the market. And
Mm.
you might know currently AI is a hot topic for everybody,
Mm.
and I think we should not close our eyes that those kind of technologies will influence us in some kind of way, I hope in a positive way,
Yeah.
and use the positive energy of those technologies into your day-to-day life, business life, and try to carve out the positive aspects, and try to support your department or company in a really efficient way. And this is what I would say, this is key for me personally, and could work for potential other practitioners in the
Mhm.
end.
Is there any way in particular that today Elektrobit is currently experimenting with AI? The reason I ask is because there was an Amazon business report on the industry of procurement this past year, 2024, mentioning that 45% of the respondents to that said that they were ready to start experimenting with application of AI this year, whereas the number grew to 80% in just 2 years' time. That's an exponential growth, of course, and it means that soon enough, pretty much everybody's going to be experimenting with AI. And I think that growth in interest in experimenting with AI takes kind of the same curve and exponential growth that AI has had in our lives, right? So, is there any concrete ways that you guys are experimenting on a day to day, both in your operational work, but also in your tech stack?
Yeah, of course. So what we are trying is some kind of not trying. We already have something like that. So we are having some automated processing solutions.
Mm-hmm.
So just to speed things up, so that we can focus more on the strategic aspect, but still keep an eye on those important operational things which are coming into the procurement team, and people are asking also about operational topics. So this is also important. So we cannot just simply say we have to somehow automate operational spans and consider a strategic spans. This is not possible.
Mm.
So but we are trying to aim some kind of shift, just from operational to strategic, so that we can invest more time on that aspect. And of course, what also is something which is highly interested for me personally is some kind of RFX solutions to
Right.
support tendering of materials and services. Then you have also chatbots, which are some kind of first level customer care contact solutions, which is also highly efficient, if you ask me. I mean, it depends what you ask the chatbot, right? And
Right.
maybe you will get some confusing answer, which is not helpful. But if you are able to connect the dots, really great, then it could help. So there is also some kind of, not chat AI solutions, but we have some kind of customer care solution,
Mm.
which drives or forwards you maybe to how to guides, that we don't explain always the same things, how things are working, so
Right.
that the user can also check on their end, what are the possibilities and what are the steps necessary to finalize the task. And also, what's really cool about AI and procurement are possible negotiation bots, which
Mm.
can handle low-level negotiation things. Maybe from the past, it could handle more strategic spans, but as long as you don't need a big interaction with your supplier, then such negotiation bots could be helpful. But when we move into a more in-depth discussion about contracts, etc., I think the AI solution is currently not the way how to deal with that. Maybe for the future, but I don't see currently a possibility in that.
Mm.
And yeah, and also trying to connect the dots between multiple other departments. I have not mentioned here, but I'm also responsible for foreign trade, so which includes export control and customs.
Okay.
And so two different departments, but somehow connected, So there is a connectivity between procurement and export control, and I also try to connect the dots here with innovative solutions for each other,
Mm.
and to help us be compliant on a quite different level
Yeah,
when it comes to
that's a great transition as well, because I wanted to talk a little bit about that. Obviously, in a global context, um, legislation and export control plays a role, right? Um, I mean, do you feel as if this shifts the way that you guys source, and if so, how?
um, I could talk hours about export control, to be honest.
All right.
It's something.
The way we export control. We could rename the podcast if you would like.
If this is a thing, then let's do it. So no, just kidding. So export control is really important, to be honest. I think, and this is my personal opinion, that procurements all around the world are not really aware what is coming. It's already there, but more and more will come. We have foreign trade situation where things are getting complicated.
Mm.
I don't want to get into details, and you maybe might know what's happening around the world. And legislations have an interest to regulate trades, export trades, and etc. And here comes procurement. So you might now ask, where is the connection? Procurement is not exporting anything. Why controlling something on that sense? But we are buying, we are sourcing things, and we should be aware what we are sourcing. It's
Mm.
easy maybe to source, because let's just have an example. I could maybe buy something in Germany out of Sweden, no brainer. It's within the European Union. It's everything is regulated, everything is free, no customs involved, at least no custom borders. But now let's think ahead, and let's now this hardware piece or software or service, etc. Let's include this into one of your products, and then
Mm.
try to sell it abroad, outside of the European Union. Then things can be complicated. So it could be the case that it was free to deal in the European Union, but now things are starting to get more and more complicated, because in the end, I sourced a dual use item, and putting it into other device could infect this other device. We're talking about infections, and then it could be hard to ship it out, because then you need maybe to approach to the German authorities and ask for permission. And then you are
Mm.
not free anymore in your trade. You have to ask for permission and wait for permission to be able to ship it outside of your country, of the European Union. Here, I think that a lot of procurement teams are not aware about that fact, and it will influence. It's already influencing, and export control helps us here to make sure that we are compliant in that sense, in law
Mm.
and regulation sense, and also to keep the business safe. And for that reason, I would highly suggest every listener, every practitioner who is watching this podcast or listening to this podcast, please do something about export control. You might get in contact really fast, and you are already in contact, and you are not aware, and the
Mm.
penalties are really worrisome and high in this context if you breach some kind of laws and regulations in that context.
Yeah. And there's a legislation tsunami coming. We've seen it, right? CS Triple D, LKSG, CSRD. I mean, from years past, modern slavery. There's new U.S. legislations for the California pact that's coming, Transparency Act in Norway. So, I mean, these drivers are, of course, going to enhance the need for control. And then at the same time, geopolitical aspects are, of course, squeezing, kind of these two elements and procurements in the middle. Do you have any particular ways or suggestions that you and your team have worked really hard to be able to get compliant within your products and services that you're selling forward?
Of course, we did a tremendous time investment. I think we did a calculation. Last year, we started our automatization process in export control. So we started from scratch, from zero.
Mm.
So it was only me in 2019. I started the journey. I was alone. And then we realized, okay, you cannot cover this task for 3,500 employees around the
Mm.
world for Elektrobit, so we have to find more efficient way. It started with email interactions, and then I realized, okay, this is a completely out of possibilities to handle, and also the
Mm.
transparency is not so great. And then we decide, okay, let's use an in-house solution for that. It's a ticket system where you can create some transparency, not some, quite a lot of transparency. You can interact with your customers, internal customers, and let them know what the status is. And then we realized, okay, it's great, it's transparent, and everybody sees the status of the request, but I want to automate
Mm.
and automate the operational aspects. And then we sit together, and now I have a team of 2 employees in export control. And we together started an initiative about an automatization process, and we connected 4 tools together. So we sourced and software solution outside of Elektrobit, which just gives us, I always call it the brain. This is the brain. It identifies the dots and makes a decision. But we said, okay, this is just only the brain, but we also need some kind of the rest of the body. And
Mm.
there, our software solutions came into this into the game, and we connected this external solution with our free internal solutions, and now we have an automated solution which connects 4 tools and which we're able to reduce our cycle times by from 25 hours or something like that to 7 or 6 hours cycle time in an average. It's completely fast. If you just create a request, you will get in a minute and reaction from the system, just an approval or declination. It depends on the situation. And so we invested a lot of time, and as said, we calculated what we have done together, and it was roughly 500 development hours last year, the
Wow.
3 of us, which invested in that. Even though doing the daily stuff, the daily requests, etc., this was on top, and I'm really proud of my team that they were able to make something happen. That is so big, in the end, and helps the company in such a great way. Because when it comes to export control, one could think of, but export control is slowing down the revenue creation, because without an approval,
Mm.
you cannot sell it to the customer. But in the end, you will get a solution which will support you really fast, so without blocking, but also ensuring that the business is safe from any kind of law impacts, which could then maybe hit you through the back door.
Mm. Fantastic insights, and like you said, inspiring for anyone that's looking to get control over things and ensure that they're compliant. There's a lot of external factors that make sure that this is very important today. Your career in procurement, even though you're young, has been long. What's during that career one of the things that you look at back on, and maybe a mistake or a learning that you had, and how did you learn from it, and what did it make you do differently?
I think there was no mistake at all, I would say. It was more of a struggle to find yourself, to find your way, which
Mm.
works really great for you. And I think I finally found it. It's about the open mindedness
Mm.
and about new innovations, new technologies, and having the freedom, to chase those kind of ideas.
Mm.
This is what was an learning curve and development of
Mm.
myself. And looking back, I would do nothing completely different, but I would start to think more innovative from the beginning.
Okay.
Not only doing the stuff what the company is doing, and people just trying to tell you, but we did it over the past few years and it works. But we have also to be smart, to try new things out, to question things, and this is what I would do differently
Mm.
than if I could do a time travel back.
Yeah, like you said before, right? Not trying to recreate the wheel, but trying to use the wheel different ways, right? And I think that that's a great metaphor for applying yourself and having that growth mindset. What are some of the procurement tactics that you have seen in your day to day that you think they're dead and gone? That's a thing of the past.
It's also a good question. I think procurement will always stay in some kind of core statement, state where we cannot change a lot of things. The wheel will stay. This is what we cannot change. But I think everything is changing currently around the world. Supply chains is a good example, were
Mm.
hit recently by a global impact. And we have to be smart. We have to find our way. We have to ensure that we still can do our real core thing with the way how we use the wheel. So that this will empower us in the future to do things differently and ensure that we are in a modus operandi which helps the company in the end.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
and this is what I see, and what tactics are will influence me, of course, also for the future. Never say never to new aspects and new possibilities which are offered to you in the
Mhm.
context of smart, innovative ideas.
Cool. Do you see though that there are ways in which your relationships with suppliers, whether that be related to collaboration or negotiation, are there things that have changed? The banging of your fist on the table to be able to get the lowest price, or kind of intimidation, or focused on kind of like lowest cost without having a focus on quality or like? Or is there any types of these things that you guys take into consideration in your buying?
I think the companies or at all have to have a global mindset in the end. It's not that I'll have to hammer my fist on the table and say this is it and whatsoever. So I think we have to create a win-win situation between the supplier and you as a buyer.
Mm.
Nobody has an interest to squeeze the other side out,
Mm.
and there is no juice anymore left, right? Everybody has to still exist. So, and all of us are driving an economic company which needs to create revenue and etc. So, from my point of view, as said, global companies have to think global. Markets have changed over the past few years. European as an Union, as an example, is getting more and more expensive in the end. We have to search for other market possibilities around the world and stay competitive. So not we as a company, but also suppliers have to stay competitive. And this is what I see for the future, that you have to spread your investigations around the world and try to find possible solutions which could help you in your sourcing activities day by day.
Fantastic insights. A global mindset, understanding that it needs to be a win-win situation. And I think that what you hit on there is so important, right? You guys, as in a procurement profession, just as a vendor, ourselves and other suppliers out there in the world, we all have a joint responsibility to be able to enhance the markets that we're working within, right? And create joint revenue and joint innovation. So I think that it's a great way to kind of round things out. And before we let you go, Denin, I would love to let the viewers and the listeners know, first and foremost, a little bit more about you as a person beyond your expertise within the procurement supply chain space. A quick fire round where I would love to get just your response, one word or one sentence answers, and we'll then round things off afterwards. Sound like a plan?
Of course, let's do it.
All right. So we have a phrase in Swedish called a paradrätt. It means the dish that you would invite people over for and that will be able to impress. If I'm coming over to dinner, what are you serving as your paradrätt, Denin?
It's it's interesting thing, yeah. I started to live a little bit vegan over the past few years, but then I realized I cannot live without cheese, with the right taste of cheese. And
Understood.
then I just changed my mind and go a vegetarian way. I would serve you something with cheese in it, so because I love cheese.
All right, very nice. Is there a book or a podcast that is either on your bedside table now or something that you would really suggest to anyone that's listening? And it doesn't have to be necessarily about procurement or supply chain, but something that is impactful in your life.
There's one trick which I'm doing for myself. So I when I turn off the PC in the evening, and when I'm done with my business activities, I do private things. I love to play games in the end.
Mhm.
Just to empty my brain with just low level things. And I love to read. Currently, I'm reading Aragon. It's a fantasy book about dragon riders. I love fantasy. I love sci-fi. I'm a geek. I love board games. I also love to paint them. It's absolutely a hobby. I don't have the time anymore to invest that much into the painting area, but I still love to play them digitally, and of course tech things. So I'm also a tech geek. I love tech. So everything about laptops. I'm building PCs. I'm also trying to build some electrical circuits, etc. So I'm trying to still be in some kind of way that I still try new things, learn things, but also entertain myself. I cannot allow myself to that things get boring. Otherwise, I have too much time to think about everything about the world, what's going on. So that's my secret keys for emptying your brain in the end. And yeah, currently Aragon reading, and I can
Nice.
can encourage everybody to read that book. I have the 4 books here, and just currently with the first book, still not finalized it yet, but I think in the next few days the first book will be done.
Very nice. Now, when you were a kid, maybe you didn't dream of being a procurement expert. If you weren't a procurement professional, what would you be doing today otherwise?
Teacher or video game developer. So this was my long life career plans, but obviously it has not worked out, and so I ended up in procurement.
Well, we've developed a good episode of the way we source here today, and you've taught our listeners quite a bit. So I appreciate you taking the time to be able to be on the podcast. If people want to be able to get in touch or learn more about you or what you guys are doing at Elektrobit, how could they be able to do so?
They can reach us on our webpage, so elektrobit.com. And there is also a contact form. Just write us there if you're interested in our products, services, or just want to get in touch. Everybody's welcome. And yeah, check our website. I think this is the best way how to see what Elektrobit is doing and see what kind of interesting things are on the horizon.
Thanks so much, Denin, for your time. We appreciate you as a customer, and we appreciate you taking your time to be able to share some of your insights with our listeners today. Have a good rest of your
Thank
day.
you, Sam. Thank you, and have a nice one. Bye.